Welcome back to Eye.Talk.Tech, where we take a look at the intersection of eye care and technology. Today, we have a very special episode. We are diving into a major launch that is set to redefine the photochromic landscape. We're going to be talking about the U.S. launch of Sensity 3. And to give us that full picture, we have a returning guest, Michael Gatti. He is the Senior Manager of Professional Engagement for HOYA North America. And joining him as well is Warren Modlin, Global Director of R&D and Vision Science. Gentlemen, how are you both doing today?
I'm doing great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Look forward to a great conversation. I'm definitely here for the accent and letting Michael carry a lot of it. So I look forward to the conversation.
Well, I'm glad. I have to admit here, guys, I've been saying sensitivity 3 in my head for months on end here now in preparation. So Sensity 3, and let's maybe set the stage before we dive into the lens in particular. Photochromic lenses have been a staple of optical for a long time, and patient demands are maybe shifting. Maybe you guys would agree in that space. And I'm curious what trends you guys are seeing in the market, and why are consumers demanding, maybe better adaptive lens technology right now? Do you have any thoughts there? Michael,
I,
we'll start with you.
yeah, I guess I'll get started with that. I think there's a lot of trend shifting, and Warren and I have been having this conversation for years now around patient experience and trying to shift the framework around what happens in the optical establishments, and creating or crafting that experience for the patients is so important, not only in the practice, but then outside the practice after they've left and they figure out, are these glasses working? Are they comfortable? Am I enjoying them? All of those things are roughly the next 18 to 2.5 years are going to determine whether they come back to your office and get glasses again. And I think the photochromic landscape is just a small piece of that pie, but it plays such a substantial amount of like the comfort in their vision and in their glasses and in their everyday life on whether these glasses feel good. Right? They can look good and we can see well out of them, but do they feel good? I think is a big difference. And I think that's something that patients are starting to pay attention to is, what is my experience like in this pair of glasses that I've spent hundreds of dollars on over the next year and a half, 2 years. I wish it was faster. I wish we got them in the office every year, but the reality is we see them every 18 months to every 24 months, depending on if they have insurance or if they don't. And so they're going to be wearing them for several months, a very long time. And we want them to work not only on day one, but also 18 months from now as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I want to follow up on that, and then I'll jump to Warren here. I'm curious, when you talk about that feel, I'm sure you've tested out these lenses a number of times, Michael. How would you describe what it means for it to feel as compared to being able to see good? What does that mean for you?
I have. And, I've seen these lenses and I've actually had the opportunity to see them even years ago while they were still in development, and was blown away by how fast they go from clear to dark. And now I don't normally wear glasses. I know last time we were on the call, I had my brand new Visu Pros on, and I still love those glasses. Absolutely. When I have them on, my favorite things and super comfortable when I'm wearing them. Honestly, the most difficult thing for me is putting on a pair of glasses because it's not my habit yet to wear glasses.
Sure.
But I have tried some of our photochromics in the past, and having a pair of glasses that change when you go outside is so important just for the comfort of my eyes, because I'm so light sensitive that if I get outside, I immediately turn back inside to get my sunglasses. Like I know right away that I forgot my sunglasses.
Sure.
And so having a pair of lenses that I didn't have to worry about that, I just went outside and they darkened, would make my world so much more comfortable if I wore glasses all day long. For me, I think it's probably a better conversation coming from Warren, because for me, I have my sunglasses in hand always because I don't need that clear pair of glasses to change colors on me.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well,
And
and Warren, I do want to hand it off to you here, and could you
sure.
maybe bring us through for some ECPs will be very familiar with the Sensity line in this family. Could you maybe tell us how this Sensity, this third iteration, stands out, and tell us a little bit about the line in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So just to go back and answer one of the first questions you asked around
Sure.
what we see in trends, I think the technology is improving, and therefore the need that Michael had indicated, this light sensitivity, which occurs in 2/3 of people. If you ask them, are you light sensitive when you walk outside, has always been there. Technology is catching up to the need, and the recommendation is now something that, when recommended, patients really accept. What we need to do as ECPs is not worry about the wallet as much as worry about the need. So the Sensity line fills, I think, that gap, right? It delivers on performance and a patient need. And I think that's where, coming from R&D and innovation, I think that's really where it starts. Can we solve not a product feature, but a patient need? And I believe that that's where the Sensity line really meets all of the various patients' needs. Quick transitions from dark to light, light to dark, color, all the things that patients want, we deliver on.
Sure. Well, and I think there's certainly a way of describing those features, meeting those needs, and that's kind of a marketing friendly language, and that's important to explain the technology. But Warren, we do have a bit of a tech bend on the show here. I'm curious if you would elaborate on the scientific specifics that maybe allow for new innovations as it pertains to Sensity 3 here.
Sure. The fundamental, I'll call it science, behind where Sensity 3 is this trade-off between what is typically the dynamic range, the darkness to light, and the strength of the surface. Because typically what happens in photochromics is the more kinetic energy you have, the softer the surface needs to be. And therefore, this constant change from dark to light, light to dark, over the period that Michael mentioned, this 2 years, tends to be a trade-off in different brands. And what we've been able to do, particularly here, is maintain the surface integrity, and we can deep dive into what that looks like, and keep that that activity of shifting from light to dark intact, where other brands who aren't able to keep that robust initial trade-off between strength of surface and dynamic range fail, where we really have that advantage. And I'll give it to Michael to add anything more to that, but we can jump in wherever you need.
Yeah, no, I think he said it right on the, right on the mark, which is that we've found this balance between the two different ways of working through photochromic, and this has been something that HOYA has been doing for a while, actually. Even with our anti-reflective lens that came out almost 2 years ago, or around 2 years ago now, being able to find that balance between cleanability, reflection, and then durability at the same time. Whereas in a lot of those situations, you have to give one to get the other. And with the new invention of Sensity 3, or the new R&D behind that, we've been able to kind of blend both of those things together. You usually get excellent what we call change or transition between the clear and the dark lenses. You get really good color tones, but you don't get the durability, you don't get the lifelong, you don't get the lasting performance. And so you have to give up one over the other. It can either be really good off the bat, and then it usually deteriorates fairly quickly, or it maintains a balance, basically a balance across its life cycle, but it doesn't have that peak in the beginning. And so we've been able to find that balance between the two. And so what we're really kind of hanging our hat on this new lens, which is one of the biggest things that we're excited to talk about, is when the lens comes out of the lab and changes colors, how well does it continue to change colors over the life of the lens? And for us, the life of the lens is about that prescription length, which is 18 months to 24 months. And so we're measuring long beyond the 12-month cycle, which is typically what you think of. We're saying, no, the true life of a patient's prescription is going to be more like 18 months to 24 months. And so we're saying, hey, let's measure it on day one. Let's also measure it over time and simulate this time where it's changing over and over and over and over again, and then remeasure all of those things again and see if we can find a nice balance between day one and day 700, which is what we've been able to do with Sensity. It's actually, and I know you mentioned like the whole marketing thing. we have the marketing data. And what I love about my team working with technical marketing, and Warren actually used to lead our team before he moved into the R&D team, is we got to dive into the technical data of all of the information and then say, what out of that technical data, what do we get to see? What does this tell us? What's the story it's telling us? And what we find is that we can actually plot color charts on, say, like, call it brown, for example, and say that the brown falls on this XY axis, and we can tell exactly how much of what tint density it has. And then we can measure it after it's changed colors 100 times and see, is it in the same plot graph or has it shifted? Has it gotten more gray or has it gotten more red, or which way has it moved? And what we find is that with the new Sensity 3 lenses, that the colors themselves stay true to color about 4 times as long as our leading competitors do. And then the speed at which they change and the cleanliness, right, or the clarity, the clearness that it gets when it comes back to its clear state tends to stay clear 4 times longer as well. So it's the performance that we've been able to find this balance in, where instead of saying, hey, this is an amazing lens on day 1, we've been able to say, it's a great lens on day 1 too. Yeah, it's phenomenal, but look at it again on day 700 and look how good it still is, which is, I think, a phenomenal advancement in the photochromic world.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be fun to have something like that you can point to. Warren, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm excited to jump into all of this, but we have something called a resilience index. So we always said that photochromics are a balance between all the elements. So when you add what Michael said about the photochromic stability over time, you also add the strength of the surface, because a lens that changes very quickly is soft. So the resilience index, which is this combination of scratch resistance, depending on the material, you have the hardness of the surface and this adaptability over time, really delivers a lens that meets a patient's daily life, right? A lens that can go dark and clear, it worn every day, not a second pair, needs to be as robust as the daily life. And that resilience added to the advantage, the measurable advantage of 4 times, I think is super valuable for a patient.
Sure. I'd be interested to hear kind of just generally in terms of how this process goes. Oftentimes in optics, as you guys have alluded to, there's sort of trade-offs that we have to make in terms, you have it, your wish list would have all these different features, but sometimes there's a balance as you struck. And as you guys are going through the technical validation process, what does that look like on a particular product for HOYA, coming up with, hey, this is the best range of features that meets that balance? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll probably let Warren take that one because he has more visibility to that side.
Yeah, I think there's a general statement around innovation looking at a problem, not a solution or a feature. You think about innovation, let's say Netflix didn't come up with better DVDs. They came up with a way to change the delivery of video information. And you can go through, Uber wasn't a better taxi service. It changed the way you take friction out of the experience. So when we look at developing lenses, what we want to try and do is find a problem statement that the patient says and deliver on that. And in particular with photochromics, moving in and out, indoors, outdoors, life is very dynamic. And having 2 pairs of glasses is inconvenient. So what we need to do is try and find, asking a patient, what are your needs and how do we deliver on that? So our research will tell you that patients love visual comfort. It's the number 1 need for putting on eyewear. And visual comfort when you walk outside is reduced if there's bright light. So what we want to do is find the most practical way, other than what I think will be a future is electrochromic, immediate turn of dark to light, light to dark, which we're still pretty far away. We need something that is practical for a consumer, not only on their first day, but what Michael said, on their last day before they change their RX. And that's always been a problem, right? So we need to address the problem statement, not just come up with a new set of features. Does that make sense in terms of how we
100%.
go
I think
about
that
looking?
aligns. Yeah, I think that aligns really well with what us as clinicians are trying to do when we have an interaction with the patient, which is to find out how they're using their eyes and where they have areas that we could benefit them with various technologies. And I think that's kind of the perfect setup for the next question I had for Michael here, which is, this great technology only works if the staff knows how to present it, if the clinician finds out what need the patient may has, and then they can offer a potential solution to that. And so I'm curious, how is Hoya equipping practices to be successful in general, but with this Sensity 3 lens in particular?
Yeah, I think it goes back to like what Warren was talking about earlier, which is satisfying the needs. And I think one thing that opticians tend to lack the most in is discovering what those needs are for the patient. And so oftentimes we talk about the features and we talk about the benefits of the lenses themselves, but we never get to provide value to the patient because we don't understand what brings them value in the first place. We just say, these lenses change colors for you. You're going to love it. We have no idea why they're going to love it, how they're going to use them, when they're going to use them. We have no way to provide the value that they're actually looking for. And so I think it's you just mentioned it right now too, which is I think it's so important for us to truly understand who our patients are. It blends back into that experience conversation that I said earlier, which is the patients are looking for an experience when they go somewhere. And if we can truly get to know who these people are, if we understand that Johnny has soccer practice 3 times a week and plays his games on Saturday morning, we now know why they would need a photochromic. And instead of just saying that this is going to be great and it's going to be comfortable, we can speak directly to the patient's needs. And we can say something like, these glasses will automatically turn dark for you when you go outside and you're watching Johnny play soccer at the football game. Now, I know sometimes you might need some sunglasses for other reasons, but if you're you like to go on daily walks. I catch Warren all the time where he goes on his regular walks with Stewie, the little dog, right? And so, but if I know that about Warren, then I can provide that value to Warren, which says, hey, I'm going to give you this pair of glasses so that when you do take those daily walks with your dog Stewie, the lenses are just automatically going to darken for you and they're going to be comfortable, whether you're outside with the dog or whether you're inside working. They're going to work. But we're missing that personalization in the conversation. And we're just generically saying that they're great and they're comfortable and they darken. The reality is that only about 20% of the country wears photochromic lenses. And that number is generally higher in retail establishments than it is in independent ECPs. But across the board, on average, it sits really close to about 20%. But when someone buys a photochromic lens, they're almost 90%, their repurchase rate is almost 90%. So 9 out of 10 people rebuy them again and love them and are satisfied with them. The barrier is getting them into them the first time. And I think it's because we don't truly understand why they need them in the first place. We just say they're going to be great. They're going to be comfortable. It's not personalized.
Well, and
And
I think it's cool and clear to see you guys are excited about this launch in particular. Why is this maybe, important for the broader industry in Hoya's vision in general? Do you have thoughts on that, Warren?
I do. I think HOYA is uniquely positioned to be a lens specialist company, right? We are not really a retailer. We're not distracted by med tech and things like that. So when we have a look at our categories, whether it be the best pals, the best coatings, designs, materials, and we can go into each one of those, we focus on the categories that can provide the most value. And what Michael said, I think is interesting, is a lot of times companies look at a feature set and think that the new feature is what we want to do. Michael, you'd mentioned, and you backed it up, so this isn't pointing it out, but how the lens changes color. And that's a feature, that's nice. But what ECPs need to recognize is that patients want comfort. So if I asked you, did you want a lens that changes color or gets darker? Okay, that's fine. But do you want to feel more comfortable as you walk outside, as you drive? that is a stated patient need, is visual comfort. So what we try and do is we try and look at what are the patient's needs in the most important categories. We know a lens is made up of materials. So how good is a material optically and how strong it is. The surface treatments are extremely important. Can we make a lens 10% more visible or improve clarity? So surface coatings, the treatments like photochromics, and then designs like PALS or single vision. So when we look at a lens, we look at all four elements and we dedicate it to each of those categories, hence the leadership in each of those. And that's what R&D does every day, is try and develop the best possible solution for a patient need in those categories.
Yeah, and I think to add on that, Warren, I think what makes this one so unique is that it's the last of those four categories. So we've already done it with the progressives. The designs are phenomenal. We know we have the most personalized lens design on the market. We've already done it with some of the materials themselves, and we're a true component of Trivex or 160. We don't like polycarbonate. It's not, we're the last country in the world that still sells polycarbonate. We're not one that believes we should keep doing it. We're ones that are like, no, let's stop selling it, right? So we've made that anti-reflective. I just hit on it a little bit earlier with our treatments and the durability and longevity of our treatments. And so it feels good that this is like that kind of that last bit where instead of just creating marketing pieces or marketing claims that say, look at this snapshot in time at what we can achieve if you look at this one day, we go look at the entire longevity of this lens for the time your patients can be wearing them forever. And let's look at the quality over time. And we've now been able to do that in all four of those categories, which I think is huge.
Yeah.
It's the
And if I
last
could build,
cherry on top.
yeah, and if I could build on the one stat that you'd mentioned, I've got the luxury of looking globally and seeing across various channels, but when recommended, patients will probably buy photochromics 50% of the time. Right now, is that good or bad? Well, if you ask them, do they want it? They have a menu of options, and 23%, I think, is the average market value. When recommended, that jumps to over 40%, close to 50%. So patients will absolutely love it. It's the ECPs predicting or assuming that either a patient can't afford it or they don't want it. So younger patients, when recommended, first-time wearers, a lot of patients have never even heard of photochromic. And that's where I believe we have, as an industry, we have a ways to go. Recommending what a patient needs versus assuming what they can afford. When we make that mindset switch, it makes a huge difference to the overall selection by a patient.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Who are we as clinicians to presume what someone should have in that way? Well, what we're there to do is provide a solution or aid in their visual comfort, as you guys mentioned multiple times. I think talking about it in terms of meeting needs is certainly the way to go about that as a clinician, is my perspective. Speaking of the clinicians, for those who might be involved in getting this into their practice, what are the next steps and how can they get involved with this launch?
Well, it'll be launching in April, 1st of April. So we'll have it in gray and brown in all colors. I'm sorry, in gray, that made no sense. In gray and brown in all materials. I'm sorry. We do have green and blue in the portfolio, but we're still with the R&D process and getting those to work well. What makes this actually difficult is because it's a spin coat process. The formula dyes, like the molecular dyes that go into them, all have to be completely different. It's not a laminated process, which makes this a lot more simple. We don't just, layer a piece on top of the lens. So because of that, every color is its own unique blend of photochromic. And so we'll get the green and the blue actually in 2027. It'll be showing up. But the gray and the brown, when given a choice, our patients love the options. They love the possibility of all of the different colors. But in the end, they end up choosing gray or brown 95% of the time. So we're launching that those gray and brown colors and trying to tackle that 95% of the market in the Sensity 3 category, and it'll be available in almost all lens designs and in all lens materials come April 1st.
Wonderful. Well, to recap here, gentlemen, faster performance, better science. But I think, as you guys alluded to, I like to get into technology on Eye.Talk.Tech, of course. But what are the patient needs, and how can we tie this all together? And I'm excited about where you guys are bringing here in Sensity 3. Michael, Warren, thank you both for taking the time. Listeners, please check the show notes for any product details, and we can get information connecting you or allowing you to connect with local HOYA representation. And if you enjoyed the show, please like, share, subscribe, pass it around. And we look forward to 2027 as well with the following iterations. Gentlemen, anything we missed here today?
Not for me. I just, thank you again for having us. I know you and I are going to be talking again in maybe a month. It seems like
Yeah.
and I'll be seeing you in person at Vision Expo, so that'll be nice. But I look forward to it. Always a pleasure talking with you.
Warren, are you making the trip to Vision Expo?
I won't this year. I've got a couple of global responsibilities, so I won't be at Vision Expo. I'll be missing it though. One of my favorite events. Good to see colleagues, but I've got some global responsibilities and on to the next innovation. And hopefully we can be talking about what I'm working on sooner rather than later.
Well, we'll look forward to that, and I guess Michael and I will have to hold it down out east here. So thanks again,
Sounds
guys,
good.
and we'll see you all next time on Eye.Talk.Tech.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.